Emperor Jothron the Conqueror folded his massive wings as he descended through the crimson clouds of his home world, Drakkar Prime. The war with the insectoid hive had ended 3 months ahead of schedule, a decisive victory that had cost fewer lives than anticipated. His scales, deep obsidian traced with veins of molten gold, still bore scorch marks from plasma fire. He was exhausted, eager to return to his palace and the familiar comforts of home. As the tallest spire of the imperial palace came into view, something seemed different. There were lights blazing from windows that should have been dark. Music, strange, rhythmic human music, echoed across the crystalline towers. Jothron's vertical pupils narrowed. Had there been an invasion? An uprising? He landed with thunderous force on the grand balcony, his claws scraping against polished stone. The guards who should have been stationed there were absent. The Emperor's blood ran cold. He burst through the doors, smoke trailing from his nostrils, prepared for battle. Instead, he found chaos of an entirely different nature. The Imperial Throne Room, the sacred heart of draconian power, where emperors had ruled for 10,000 years, had been transformed into what appeared to be his school. Dozens of young dragons, ranging from hatchlings to adolescents, sat in organized rows. They weren't cowering or fighting. They were taking notes. And at the front, standing before a massive holographic display, was Sarah Chun, his human maid, all 5 feet and 4 inches of her. Now, as you can see, Sarah was saying, pointing at a complex mathematical equation floating in the air. If we apply the Henderson-Hasselbalch equation here, we can predict the pH levels necessary for optimal scale regeneration during molting. This is why your parents' generation suffered such painful molts. Nobody understood the biochemistry. A young dragon raised a claw. But Miss Chun, the ancient texts say molting pain is a trial sent by the fire gods to test our worthiness. Sarah pushed her glasses up her nose, a gesture Jothron had seen 1,000 times when she cleaned his study. Rag off, I've read those texts. They were written 3,000 years ago, before anyone understood cellular biology. Pain isn't a test. It's just information that something's wrong. Now, who can tell me what happens when scale keratin breaks down in an acidic environment? Jothron stood frozen in the doorway. His throne, the eternal seat of dragonkind, had been pushed aside. In its place were desks, lab equipment, and what appeared to be a functioning chemistry laboratory. Your Majesty, one of the hatchlings spotted him first. The entire room erupted into chaos as young dragons scrambled to bow, knocking over beakers and tablets in their panic. Sarah turned, her expression shifting from shock to defiance in a heartbeat. "You're early." "I am early?" Jothron's voice came out as barely more than a whisper. "To my own palace? My own throne room." She crossed her arms. 3 months early. I wasn't expecting you until next quarter." The Emperor stepped forward, his massive form towering over the human. Around them, young dragons watched with wide, terrified eyes. "Explain." Now, Sarah didn't flinch. During her 2 years as palace staff, Jothron had learned that humans possessed a peculiar trait. They became more stubborn when threatened. Your empire is technologically stagnant. You've been using the same tools, the same weapons, the same medicine for millennia. Do you know why? Because the old ways are. Because you killed all your scientists. Sarah's words cut like a blade. 5,000 years ago, during the philosophy purge, your ancestors decided that questioning tradition was heresy. You banned research, experimentation, and critical thinking. Since then, every single dragon empire has been locked in technological stasis. Jothron's tail lashed. "That is true. I spent a year in your imperial archives. I read the histories you don't teach anymore." Sarah gestured to the young dragons. "These children came to me. They had questions about how things work, why things are the way they are. Questions their parents and teachers told them never to ask." One of the older dragons, a copper-scaled female, spoke up hesitantly. "Miss Chun taught us about medicine. My little brother doesn't have to die from crimson scale anymore. She showed us how to synthesize the cure from common minerals. She taught us engineering," another added. "We designed a new water purification system for the lower city. Infant mortality dropped by 40%. She taught us to ask questions, a small hatchling piped up, and to find answers. Jothron looked at the makeshift laboratory, at the eager faces of the young dragons, at the human woman who had turned his throne room into a classroom. He thought of the war he'd just won, one with the same tactics, the same weapons his ancestors had used for centuries. He thought of the casualties that could have been prevented with better medicine, better technology. He thought of his own son, dead from Crimson Scale 3 years ago. A disease, this human claimed, was now curable. The Emperor sat down heavily on the stone floor, suddenly feeling ancient. "Show me," he said quietly. "Show me everything." Sarah's expression softened. "Get a notebook, Your Majesty. This is going to take a while. Class, make room for one more student." As the Emperor of all dragonkind settled in among the hatchlings, picking up a stylus in his massive claws, he realized something profound. Humans weren't strong because they had powerful weapons or thick armor. They were strong because they never stopped asking one simple question: why? And perhaps, Jothron thought, as Sarah began explaining the principles of quantum mechanics, that was the most dangerous weapon in the universe.